And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly, truly fantastic day today. Welcome back, my people. So, the latest episode of Mindless Games podcast, the latest episode of Destroy the Game podcast, of Lie About the Game podcast, they actually did this episode in front of a live audience, people. And on this episode, Steve Nash took it upon himself to glaze LeBron James with as much glaze as he could muster up in front of this live audience. Now, this is during a segment where they are discussing why basketball, why the modern NBA is the best version it has ever been, people. This is what they were saying. According to LeBron James and Steve Nash, and, you know, coming from LeBron James, who never lies, we can all believe that the reason he gives for this modern NBA being the best version is surely the truth, because LeBron James never lies, people. So take it to heart. So during this segment, well, first of all, let me say this. One thing I notice when LeBron James is in front of audiences in general, when he's in front of several people, and this could be a large audience or smaller numbers of people, like even when he's on his own show, The Shop, what you really realize is the lack of respect that LeBron James commands, is the lack of reverence that people have for him. It is very apparent when you see LeBron James around multiple people. And I compare this to, I remember there was a segment with Michael Jordan. I can't remember what show it was. Somebody drop it in the comments if you remember what I'm talking about here. But Michael Jordan was on a segment, and it was like him, I think maybe Derek Jeter, Warren Sapp, Serena Williams, Roy Jones Jr., all these top level athletes in the room. But you could definitively tell that Michael Jordan was the man in that room. It was obvious. No one would have to ask the question. It was obvious that all these other super athletes had reverence for Michael Jordan, that he was the guy in the room. And you can always tell that with Michael Jordan, no matter who he's around. Again, going back to the top 75 celebration. How many players did we hear who said, man, when Michael Jordan walked in, that's when you knew who was the GOAT. You know, we heard Dame Lillard, we heard Allen Iverson, we heard Dwayne Wade, Carmelo, you know, just numerous, countless athletes saying that, hey, amongst the 75 greatest players to ever play the game, when Michael Jordan walked in, everyone knew that the GOAT had walked in. It was very apparent. So, yeah, so just seeing LeBron James in front of this crowd, like I said, whenever you see LeBron James in front of crowds or around people, it is clear that he does not command respect. It is clear that he is not revered and that he is still struggling to make that happen, which, let me tell you, LeBron James, is never going to happen in your life. So, do what you want with that information. You can keep wasting time and resources trying to make that happen, or you can be a man and accept the fact that you made your bed, now you got to lie in it. But anyway, Without further ado, let's get into this clip. This particular clip is just the glazing that Steve Nash did. Now, I may or may not do a video on them actually talking about why this game is. No, matter of fact, you know what? I'm probably just going to touch on that in his video. It's no need to put you guys through the torture of having to listen to both of them lie to us. But anyway, without further ado, let's check out this clip.
Let's not forget the leading scorer in NBA history, right here. The leading scorer.
My account. The check clear?
Oh, clutch check.
Clutch check. Oh, it clear?
The real
Got it. Okay.
But also one of the greatest passers and playmakers, right? And one of the best minds for the game. Mind the game?
Once a Glazer, always a Glazer.
Minds for the game out there. So you put that together, what are we seeing now? You know, we're seeing guys like Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic. You go around the league, you're seeing so many guys that are taking the ball and manipulating the defense and deciding, how are you playing me? Okay, I'll go score the ball this possession. Oh, you want to load up on me? I'm going to go make plays for my teammate. So this trend for me is helping elevate the game of basketball because our lead players are able to do more than one or two things. They're able to do a bit of everything, Swiss Army knife for what the team needs in that moment while still having a huge usage rate.
Absolutely.
Shut the fuck.
Yeah, so from that clip, matter of fact, yeah, it's no need to play any other clip. From that clip, you can kind of gather what Steve Nash was getting at. First of all, you know, he was trying to insinuate that somehow LeBron James has had a great effect on the game, you know, and basically saying because of LeBron James, everybody is trying to be a Swiss Army knife and do a little bit of all things. So before we get into that part, let me just say this. You have to be special. You have to be really special to get on a platform and try to brainwash people into thinking that this modern NBA is the best version when millions of fans are expressing their dissatisfaction with the NBA every day. When podcasts like mine exist, and Angry Old Hoops and Scap Attacks, and the countless podcasts that have serious gripes with how the NBA is played, and these are coming from people, again, who have seen decades of basketball. We're not the people who just grew up on LeBron James, and so we accept everything as fact. We are people who've actually seen decades of basketball. We know what greatness looks like. But more importantly, we recognize when players are simply doing the job that they've been paid millions of dollars to do. So it takes it takes a certain, I don't know what word I'm looking for. Maybe the word I'm looking for, I shouldn't even say it. But it takes a special person to get up on their platform and try to say that, hey, this version of the NBA is the best it's ever been in the history of the game, when you know that millions of real basketball fans everywhere, and I say real basketball fans, like I said, because we have watched decades of basketball, are expressing their dissatisfaction with the product. That takes a special kind of idiot. And so that goes for you too, Steve Nash. I mean, the capping is out of control. But so let's go back to what they were saying about the game. They're saying this, oh, now everybody's a Swiss Army knife because of LeBron James. Because of LeBron James, you got people like Luka. Because of LeBron James, you got people like Jokic. I would argue that Luka and Jokic have nothing to do with LeBron James. However, let's talk about this Swiss Army knife type of mentality. When I hear that in terms of basketball, what I really hear is jack of all trades, master of none. Because everybody is not capable of doing everything at a high level, but yet you have everyone trying to do everything. To me, again, this is the main reason why I think people would be surprised. You know, unfortunately, this is something we would never get to see. But I truly believe that a whole lot of those teams from the 90s would dog walk some of these modern day NBA teams because, again, there was a clear hierarchy. There was the coach. There was the superstar. And the leadership came from those two, from the coach and the superstar. And everybody had roles. And everybody excelled in a particular role when, to me, it is much better when you can have people who are lesser talented to focus on one or two things. Part of what made that second three-peat team with the Chicago Bulls so incredibly dominant was the fact that they had a Rodman. Now, Rodman wasn't the kind of scorer that Horace Grant was, because essentially that's kind of what Rodman replaced Horace Grant. Rodman was the rebounder that they needed. But Rodman wasn't the scorer that Horace Grant was. But he didn't need to be. He could focus on rebounding. He could focus on playing defense. Let me say this. When you have a scorer like Michael Jordan, someone who can get buckets in every single kind of way possible, you don't really have a need for everybody to be a jack of all trades. That doesn't make sense. What you need is specialists, which is why you had a Steve Kerr or John Paxson or B.J. Armstrong or different players who you only needed to come through in the moments that we needed you to, because Michael Jordan was going to come through in the clutch. Michael Jordan was going to control the pace of the game. Michael Jordan was going to make sure that the game didn't get too far out of control. And when it was time to put them away, Michael Jordan was going to be the one who put his boot on their necks. So that allowed everyone else to simply focus on very specific things that aided to the team being as potent as possible. That's why that Chicago team was so potent. Now, on top of the excessive amount of three-pointers that we see today, I would argue another reason that we see so much inconsistency is like, even if you think about this year's playoffs, it's like, has there ever been another time where so many home teams lost like the first or second game at, who had home court advantage? It's like, almost seems like almost every team in the playoffs this year lost at home during the first one or two games. And I would argue that's because of this whole jack of all trade, master of none phenomenon. It makes for a less consistent style of basketball. Because Steve Nash and LeBron and the Duck, Steve Nash and the Deer, talking about, it's so much more intellectual now because now it's just all reactive instead of having set plays. Now it's like everything is cut and dash and everybody is making a decision. It's like, I'm sorry. I believe that, like I said, everybody having specific roles is what creates that consistency. When you have, you never know who is going to be the guy on any given night, every night. To me, that's inconsistent in itself. To me, part of the problem with Indiana, why they didn't win a championship, is because Halliburton wasn't the consistent superstar he needed to be. Like, when they talk about, one night it could be this person, one night it can be that, every night it needs to be Halliburton. And then when I say that, obviously there will be times when your superstars struggle and they will need extra help from the role players. But in general, we're talking about consistency. This is why we say LeBron James is the most inconsistent superstar to ever play the game. We're talking about consistency. And part of that consistency is having people who know what they're supposed to do, who specialize in very specific things that they can focus on and excel in night after night. So, like I said, I would argue that this whole jack of all trades, master of none, this whole Swiss Army knife mentality is another reason why we see so much inconsistent play in the NBA. It's because there's no consistency in the roles. That is part of it. And I'm going to go ahead and say this. And I think another part of it is because the leaders don't want to be leaders. Because they don't want that responsibility. They don't want that. And I'm not saying everybody, which I like in general, I believe there are no good leaders in the modern version of the NBA. Not compared to previous eras. And I believe that's because in general, people don't want that accountability and responsibility to know that, yes, you're going to get credit for the wins, but you're going to get the criticism for the losses as well. Yes, if you're going to be the leader, you also have to be confrontational, which is in this politically correct where nobody wants to hurt anybody's feelings or step on anybody's toes. Again, to me, this is why we don't have any real leaders in the modern NBA. But anyway, we gonna hold up here, people. You know, I just thought it was very interesting how Steve Nash had to take a moment to glaze LeBron James in front of the live audience. Remind everybody that this is the leading scorer. I tell you what, I have never, when Kareem was the leading scorer, it was never talked about so much. And now it seems like this is all they talk about. Is LeBron James leading scorer? LeBron James leading scorer. How about you talk about his 6 finals losses as much as you talk about he's the leading scorer? But anyway, we gonna hold up here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think of Steve Nash glazing LeBron James like a donut? What do you think about what they were saying about the modern NBA being the best version of the NBA that there has been? Which is, like I said, it is so absurd to get up there and say that knowing the criticism the NBA has been receiving for the last several years. You know, we can start with the All-Star game. It's so ridiculous to say that knowing all of the things that they have had to implement during the LeBron James era just to get players to compete. The in-season tournament, the play-in tournament. Now they turned the All-Star game into the tournament. And it still didn't work because this is the greatest era of basketball, people. I guess that's what the greatest era is the least competitive. Now everything is it's new ways and standards, people. Now it's not about competition anymore. Just like Kevin Durant said, longevity is the goal. It's not winning anymore. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.